What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Welcome back to Kiodiekin's channel. Just doing a quick mic check.
Yes, sir.
Sounding good.
Testing.
Yep.
We're in.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Doing good, man.
All right. Well, tonight we're going to be doing our arcade talk, tech talk again with the Arcade1up cabinets. We have a few Fortnite codes we're going to give away. I'm Kiodiekin, and tonight I am joined by Superdimensional and Wolf. I'll let them start off by introducing themselves.
All right, Superdimensional, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is my second time on here with Keo and with Wolf. Basically, just a gamer, classic gamer, toy collector, just a dad and everything else, you know. That's pretty much it.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is Wolf coming back to you again. A little bit different topic from last week. As you know, I'm, again, a classic gamer, collect most of the retro stuff, and I just want to talk about modding today.
Nice.
To do so. We have some codes we're going to give out. I'll be doing that in just a little bit. But I know Superdimensional wanted to show you guys some stuff that he wanted to talk about as far as mods. And just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about my channel if this is your first time watching. I'm all about hobbies, mostly pertaining to fireworks, video games, RC cars, trade shows, and events. And I know myself and Wolf in a few weeks, we will be at CES. It will be our first time there. And so if you guys were looking for either live video or some good close-up footage of CES, you could tune in to either one of our channels, either one of our YouTube channels as well. And in addition to that, we will have an exclusive interview or even try to talk to some of those CEOs over there at Arcade1up to find out what the heck is really going on, which I'm sure you guys would be interested in. So,
for sure.
Yeah, Superdimensional, man. We missed you last week, man. What were you up to?
Yeah, man. It's just a busy time of year, and with family and everything else, I couldn't get here in time. So, but I did watch the show, and I had a bunch of stuff to say, but I couldn't say it because I was late. But you know, it is what it is, and I'm here now, and so I guess we could just jump right in. I guess tonight we're going to be talking about how to turn your Arcade1up machine into something a little more viable and useful, and I can just kind of explain what I did and why I did it, and if that's cool with you guys, I can just jump right into it.
All right, sounds good. Let's do it.
Yeah,
all right. So I guess I'll start off with what I've done to my cabinet. It's kind of right behind me, so as you can see. And probably right away, you can probably notice a couple of things that if you have one of these, you'll notice mine has that yours probably doesn't if you haven't modded it yet. The first one being I installed a sound bar up on the top there, different sticks and buttons, and you might see the buttons right there in the front there. And those are basically to replicate coin buttons or use for select on other games and stuff. And then last but not least, you'll probably see that I'm running a game that's not even available for any of the Arcade1up machines. That's because I have a Raspberry Pi installed into it. So I guess to sum up what I did, besides just, you know, changing out all the guts, the only thing I'm really using that I bought from Arcade1up is just the cabinet and the monitor. I totally replaced all the buttons and sticks. And the reason why I did that was because just quality and feel. They're just not the same as what we remember and what we grew up with playing on arcades, you know, our whole childhoods basically. And I brought just some things to show you guys just so you can kind of see. This is what we got inside of a Street Fighter machine. And anyone that's ever played Street Fighter knows they've never seen this on a Street Fighter machine in North America. We've never had this.
What brand?
Well, this is just the one that comes in your cabinet when you buy it. This is just the cheap one. So this is what I took out. Okay.
Completely generic. There's no name on it or any print, right?
Right. It's just a basic crappy little joystick. This one right here, this is like a Sanwa clone. This is actually out of a Mad Catz arcade stick. So it's basically, it's kind of a drop-in replacement for a genuine Sanwa arcade stick. And Sanwa is what Japanese arcade machines, and now is what kind of taken over for what we used in the arcades as kids, which were HAP controls. So you can just see right away looking at them that there's a difference in quality. I mean, look at the restrictor plate, look at the size of the micro switches, everything. And this is not considered a very good stick, this Mad Catz one. A lot of people would take these out. This came out of my SE fight stick for Street Fighter 4, and I put a genuine Sanwa in there. So, but this is 100% more usable than this piece of crap. The next thing I want to show you is what we actually did have in a Street Fighter machine growing up, and this is a HAP stick. Now this doesn't come on an X Arcade, but they are drop-in replaceable onto these sticks. So as you can see, this is what we got in our arcades. So anyone that played Street Fighter in the 90s, you remember this. You definitely didn't remember this.
We have a question from Fiona DeBrot, and she wants to know if you can still find the HAP controls.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to get into that in a moment here. So stay tuned. The next thing I want to talk about real quick are the buttons. This is the button that we got inside of the Arcade1up machine. So if you're not any wiser to it, you would think, oh yeah, that's what I remember as a kid, you know, it's a concave button. It's not. This is the button we got in the 90s in a Street Fighter machine. Now you look at the difference to me. You look at the size of the top here, the actual surface where you press it, and you look a few millimeters one way or the other. You know what they say, 6 in one, half a dozen of the other. I get all that, but this feel versus this one, they went for something, and I don't know if you guys are going to pick this up, but the actual defined clicking sound. It's actually the feel and sound of this versus this is completely different. And for people that have played these games for 20 years, can know instantly the difference. And the feel and the sound actually register when you're playing, and you're playing at a competitive level. You notice those differences. And I would tell you that this button works okay versus their stick that's complete trash. But I would tell you that the quality and the longevity is not going to be there. And also just the resistance that it has, it's a lot more firmer feeling, like it requires more force to push down versus this one, which requires little to no effort to press down. So those are just some small differences if you guys want to see them a little closer. I mean, look at the size of this micro switch. And this is actually not even the preferred switch that you would want to use. This is a Zippy, a newer brand that HAP uses. I would recommend the Cherry micro switch, which I use on all my machines. But this one here, I just took out of a Mortal Kombat stick and replaced it with Cherry, so I have it laying around. So that's the buttons and sticks. As for where you can get those genuine HAP controls, you can get these at ParadiseArcadeShop.com. What I would look for is the brand Industrious Lorenzo. Now you're probably thinking, well, why does he keep saying HAP and then he's telling me to get Industrious Lorenzo? The reason why is because I believe it was in the early 2000s, Hap became Suzo Hap, and they shifted all of their manufacturing to China. The company that used to make their parts for them was in Spain, and it was called Industrias Lorenzo. That's what we grew up in the 90s playing on, and there are very slight differences in quality of materials between the Hap of today and the Hap that we played on in the 90s. So what you want to do is get the Industrias Lorenzo branded controls, and then you'll get the quality and everything and the feel that we had on those parts back in the 90s. So as for using that style joystick on an Arcade1up, I wouldn't do it. And I'll tell you why. This is way too big for the size of that cabinet. The buttons are fine. Plug and play, ease of use. You can get these to work. It's going to take some modification because the stick is closer to the buttons on that. So there's some modifications underneath here that you're going to have to do to get this to work. So what I would recommend is doing kind of like a hybrid setup. And that's what I did on my machine. I put in a Sanwa stick that's been modified with cherry micro switches, which is what that stick that I just showed you has. And I put a heavier spring in it. It's a 2-pound spring. So it has a closer feel to what we played growing up. It has the cherry micro switches, which is what those Hap controls used when we were growing up playing Street Fighter. Right. But it's going to be a little smaller, so it'll at least require less work to modify into your cabinet. So you can still get those buttons, but go to ParadiseArcadeShop.com and get it's called the Cherry. It's called the Sanwa Cherry JLF mod.
Now, to answer Jeremiah Kern's question here, what is the cost around for the Sanwas?
$20 each.
And then, did you recommend same color, or just what was the original arcade like?
It was black sticks and red, white, and blue buttons, which is what I did on mine. You can do whatever you want. Obviously, that's going to be your taste. But they did get the color correct on the machines. They just put the wrong kind of stick. These ball top sticks, we didn't see these past the 80s. In the 90s, everything switched over to what I just showed you before. So no fighting games I ever remember use this, unless maybe.
I think I remember those back when Ninja Turtles cabinet, and I think that was the last time I saw them was on the 4-player Ninja Turtle game.
Yeah, and that might have been one of those your mileage may vary type situations, but I'm pretty sure by the 90s, every game I was playing was not using this anymore. This was more like Galaga, Pac-Man, that Dig Dug era. They were using the ball top. But this continued on in Japan. Like they continued on, and this is still their preferred choice. It's just not what we use in North America. So
okay,
that's an awesome mod. So hopefully a lot of these guys here can go ahead and take advantage, because I do remember using the ball top, not the ball top, but the bat top. And Liam DeBrat over here was telling me that he prefers the bat top too. And there's a screw-on that you can get on Amazon for a few bucks that he actually used on his cabinet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what the longevity is going to be on the Arcade1up sticks. I didn't like the feel. I didn't feel they were as precise. Their actuator inside of here is just, it left a lot of slop. It was not what I was used to. So you can go ahead and buy like a different screw-on bat top. They're pretty universal, and you can use pretty much whatever one you want. I hear people saying things like, oh, I used plumber's tape or super glue to keep the ball on or whatever. I don't understand why people are doing that. The first thing I would tell you, though, on this stick on the bottom, it does have enough room here to grab on with like some pliers or vice grips, so you can grab from the bottom and then tighten it. But if you get like a real quality one, it's going to have a spot for a flathead screwdriver to hold it while you tighten it. So any good stick is going to have that, so you won't have to worry about that if you just go ahead and just do yourself a favor, get these out of there and put something quality in there, because you spent $300 on your machine. You might as well have good parts in there. At the very least, even if you leave those buttons in there, which, you know, again, I changed them out because I wanted it perfect. At least get rid of the stick and put something quality in there. And I don't agree with I agree with a lot of things that ETA Prime did on his mod, but the one thing I don't agree on is it's a toy and put cheap parts in it. Like, why, if you're going to take it all apart, spend a few bucks more and get quality parts. You know, don't buy knockoff parts.
True, I definitely have to agree with that. That controller you have there, is that a 8-way or is it a 4-way controller?
Well, so the sticks that you can upgrade from Sanwa, they come with a 4-way gate in them, but you can also swap it out with an octagonal gate, which would be 8-way. The original HAP controls used in a round gate, so it has no feeling of a gate at all. So it's completely, because their actuator is actually like a square, and you can do some research. There's a guy on YouTube called Tiger Lorry, and he does a really good comparison of basically the original HAP sticks versus the Industrious Lorenzo, and you know, he compares all different ones and everything, and so you can really see what the differences are.
Now, how would you compare a controller like that to, let's say, the Ori? I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Ori controllers. They made a lot of game sticks for the Xbox Ones, Xbox 360s.
Oh yeah, I've got some of them.
Oh, you got, okay, and the other ones that I can't think of that other company. I think it was called EA, or like not Electronic Boutique, but there was another company that made some low end game pads as well. Can't think of the name off the top of my head.
As far as I'm concerned, the stick is just the housing for, this is just an 8-bit dough for the Switch that I have. And I swapped it out. I did a Samitsu stick on this one because this stick is a little better for shoot 'em ups. And I put Sanwa buttons on here. But as far as I'm concerned, like, again, the stick is just a housing for the buttons. Just put quality parts in it. It really doesn't matter what brand you get, as long as you are comfortable with the housing of it. But I have plenty of arcade sticks. If you guys check out my channel, I do some overviews and reviews on different sticks and stuff on there too. So you can check out that on Superdimensional is my handle on YouTube.
Now, aside from sticks and buttons, it looks like you have a stereo setup on yours. A lot of people were complaining that the Arcade1ups was only a mono sound. Now, what did you have to do to achieve the stereo sound on your cabinet?
So initially, I did the ETA Prime mod. I got the amp in there, and I just ran the amp, and I just went with the mono sound, and it was okay. But you have to go into the dip settings and change the games that were made in stereo, which are mainly going to be CPS2 arcade games from Capcom, because they use the Q sound, which is basically stereo. So that's why 2 of the games that came with this only run the left channel, because they're missing the right channel. Right. So what I eventually decided was, you know, I found this sound bar here that's on there for like $20 at Walmart. It was just there, and I was like, you know what, God, it's the right dimensions and everything. Let me just try it out. If I don't like it, I could just take it out. And I put it on there, and it sounded great. So what I did was I left the amp in there. I turned the treble down quite a bit on the built-in speaker. I turned the bass up a little bit till I got like a really good balance. And now it's virtually like a 2.1. So I'm using that bigger speaker that came in the panel as more like a subwoofer.
Right. And right. Super. While we're on that topic, do you remember what model number or what kind of speakers they used in those cabinets?
I do not. I don't have that information.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sure that varied.
Yeah, I think that would actually be a good point to find out exactly what quality speakers they were using, so that way, not just ourselves but people out there can modify their cabinets. To something similar. I mean, if you're going to get something more powerful, obviously, but
Yeah.
to find out what speakers they used in those cabinets back in the day.
Yeah, there's a bazillion ways you could modify this cabinet to accommodate, car speakers or whatever, So I've seen them put right in the front there by where my buttons are. I've seen them put on the sides, the back, however you want to do it. I just went with that little sound bar because it was small and it was black and it just kind of, I don't know, it sticks up a little bit, but I kind of like it, so I'm good with it.
Yeah, what I was thinking is somebody could get something like a bookshelf, something that that's the width of the cabinet to extend it maybe another 2 or 3 feet higher, because I remember most of the speaker positions were up top, right over the cabinet, right over the screen. So somebody could get something like a bookshelf, or not a bookshelf, but those things you put plants on or whatever at those little IKEA shops and Hobby Lobby, extend it another 3 feet up and have the speakers angling down. I think that would be the perfect sound position.
Sure. There's even like those little home theater brackets that you could put speakers on, and you put them in the corners of the room or whatever on the ceilings and kind of aim them. You could even put those on the sides of the cabinet, and maybe, I don't know. I'm sure people are going to get really tricked with these things. I just wanted to keep it kind of like all one piece as much as I could, and as far as like exterior mods, that's the only thing that I'm gonna really do that kind of stands out from a regular one.
All right, I think Wolf, you had a question. Somebody wants to know what's in the background.
So basically, in the background is all of my games in here that I've collected over the years. And if you can kind of see, I have my own little section for all the different systems that we have here. You have your old school NES. You're on this side. And then you have your N64. I'm not sure how good you can see this because it's so dark in here. But you got your Switch games and all the really old Genesis games and Sega Master games. And then one of my oldest systems is a system called Arcadia 2001. And this is what the kids got when the parents didn't have that much money in the early 80s. And I really wanted an Atari 2600, but my parents couldn't afford it, so I got this.
Wow.
And this is actually the first video game I actually played on a TV.
I've never heard of that before. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was short-lived, but I guess it was kind of popular in Europe.
Huh? I've never heard of that. That's always something new to learn.
And then my Atari Lynx, and of course the Dreamcast, which is hugely popular. And it was like the last Sega system to be released.
That system vividly.
Oh yeah, I got 2 of them.
And for those of you watching, that's actually a new code right there. I'm just trying to focus in on it a little bit. That is actually a new code. So there we go.
So just to piggyback off of what he was talking about with the mods, I mean, he's just talking about the tip of the iceberg. A lot of people are doing a lot more with these cabinets, and some guy the other day installed a Pandora's box, I think, which is like a cheap way out of just installing a Raspberry Pi. I think if you're not too technical, that will probably be the way to go. But if you want the full arcade experience with any game out there, I would go Raspberry Pi myself.
Yeah, let me tell you guys something real quick. I've never done a Raspberry Pi until I did this one. And there would have been even easier ways to do it than what I did. There's already pre-made images you can download. Keo can talk more about that, but I just went with the base image from the RetroPie website, and I just kind of built it off from there, and I just watched videos, and within a couple of days I had this thing pretty much all tweaked out exactly how I wanted it. I'm not going to say I don't have any experience with emulators at all, which that's not true, but RetroPie and its interface I had zero experience with, and I just kind of took my time and dove into it, and boom, it's done. So I would recommend that way 99 out of 100 times. And I'm a very busy guy. Like, I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to this stuff. I have to watch my son in the mornings, and I go to work all day. And then I come home from at night, and I might have an hour or two tops. And I was able to kind of squeeze that in and get it done. So, you know, save your money and do it, and you'll have a sense of pride that you actually did it and you made it exactly how you want it, and versus someone else's vision. But you know, whatever you want to do, but that's just my recommendation, is just go in there and do it, and then enjoy it.
Yeah,
I got from Landon.
Go ahead, Wolf.
I got a message from Landon. He wants to know if there's any delay, because a lot of these little mini computers, there's a slight delay on them. And did you experience any of this when you did your Raspberry Pi on yours?
I have no lag, not only from not that monitor that they include, is actually the refresh rate must be really good on it, because I've noticed no lag there, and I've noticed no input lag from the controls as well. So everything looks and runs really well. My only gripe out of my entire system would be the monitor, and not because of the quality when you're looking directly at it, but when you kind of get off angle, it kind of washes out, and that's typical of a lower end monitor. So, yeah. But if you're sitting directly in front of it, looking straight on, it looks great.
Yeah, I actually have a fix for that when I get ready to do my mod video, but we'll keep that tightly sealed until then.
Okay.
But you know, while you were talking about that, I really respect the fact that Super took out his own time to figure out how to set up a Pi. I actually did that myself. I first saw it at Arcade Expo. Some guy was selling it for about $250, almost $300. The Raspberry Pi, everything was loaded and stuff on there, and I thought that was pretty pricey. But fortunately, I went out and bought my own, figured out how to do everything myself, and you learn a lot. And I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I would actually stay away from a lot of videos. If you need any help, you can subscribe or join the Supreme Retro Gaming Group on Facebook, because when I first started doing mines, I watched a lot of videos, and a lot of videos sent me in the wrong direction. For example, when you're setting up your controllers, I watched some videos. Guys were telling me to download all the drivers for all the controllers. And that's actually one of the first mistakes you can do, because the controller works by default when you plug it in. I actually use the Xbox Microsoft controllers, the wired ones, for my Pi. So if anybody's ever downloading one of my images or anything like that, that's the default controller I use. And when I would go to the RetroPie setup and follow the tutorials that everybody was giving, it disabled the controller. So because I downloaded all the drivers, so, and you don't need to do that. And setting up your own image and starting off that way is a lot harder to do, but it's really good for you to, you know, gain that experience and gain that knowledge.
Yeah.
And because downloading images is real easy. You just download it and make sure you have a, you know, good memory card. It's not corruptible or anything, and you're good to go. So when I first started downloading images, that was the easier way, but I spent hours upon hours trying to set up everything myself. And I figured out a lot of stuff. I learned a lot of stuff, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. I will tell you too, when it comes to memory cards, they're so cheap now. Even the good brands are really affordable. So try to put something quality in there. It's just going to reduce any problems down the line. And I would also say, in the process of setting up your RetroPie, make sure you leave the back of your cabinet open until you really feel confident you're done. And you won't be feeling like you're done probably for like a week or two, because you're going to want to add games and you're going to want to make this tweak and that tweak. But the main reason why I say to leave the back off is because throughout the process, I highly recommend backing up whatever image that you made. And so, because I did have one time where I screwed something up bad and I didn't know how to fix it, and I kind of had to just start over. Fortunately, I wasn't too deep into the whole programming, but I would definitely recommend, as you go along, just kind of making a backup, and then ultimately having a backup that you just have for good. So in case something ever does happen, you can just write that image right to the new one, and then you're good to go.
Yep.
And also, you can add games wirelessly once it's perfectly set up the way you like it.
Oh, absolutely.
if you're on Wi-Fi, you can just add games and.
Yeah, I do everything from my Wi-Fi. So, and I would also recommend, just to give another shout out to ETA Prime, is I watched mostly his videos to get everything going, and I think if you kind of stick with the same person, and he's very methodical in how he does everything, and he's very, he talks slowly, and you're able to kind of get the understanding of there, and he starts you from the beginning, middle, and end. He walks you through the whole process, so it's not too bad at all. So
yeah, that's true. And another thing too, for any of you guys who either follow us on Facebook or anything, don't be afraid to ask questions. We're not one of those kinds of groups, or if you run across myself, Super, or Wolf, to where a question has been asked 30 or 40 times. It's okay. If you don't know, you don't know. Because I've seen a lot of things online where people say, oh, great, another comment or question about the same thing. And, that's really rude, because if people are in a state of mind where they don't know, we've always been there ourselves.
yeah.
And, if you're in a group and it's growing, you don't know if that person's new or if that person saw a previous post. Just answer the question. And if, you feel it's irritating, you just move along.
Yeah. Let me tell you, if you guys have any questions and you want to hit me up, you can hit me up in Facebook. My name is Brian Buck in the Facebook groups. I'm also on Instagram, Superdimensional. You can also, private message me there and ask me whatever you want, and I will respond in a timely fashion. And I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and I'll help you out as best I can. I don't have the answer to everything, but if I can help you in any way, I will.
Yep, that's good. That's definitely good info. Again, we got another new code up here. These are for custom sprays here for the Fortnite game. I still have plenty of these from last week. If anybody wants to jot down one of those codes, I still got plenty left. But one of the things I definitely respect about Wolf and also Superdimensional, they get their own research and their own information. And even though you may follow somebody else's tutorial, they're doing it themselves, just like some other people. But I really respect the fact that people actually get the knowledge, apply it themselves, maybe give a shout out or recognition to some people they watched along the way. But that's what the process is all about. And for the three of us, we're not individuals here that are giving you some information that we saw somebody else do. We're actually doing it ourselves and applying it to our daily life.
Yes, sir. 100.
And there's so many different things you can do with these. You're not going to be wanting to do the same thing somebody else did. You're going to be watching maybe their video and then improving on what they did. And hopefully this will give you some better ideas, and you can share them with the other groups. And this is what makes this group great,
Yep. So, Wolf, let me ask you, what are your plans for your cabinet?
So my Street Fighter 2 cabinet is pretty much stock, as is. But I will take the Pac-Man cabinet that I have, and I do want to put a pie in it because I want to put Miss Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man, and all the other really retro games that were only, utilizing the 4-way joystick.
Yeah.
So eventually after that, then I'll go ahead and touch the Street Fighter one. But right now, as it stands now, it's pretty popular with just the 3 games it came with.
Yeah. I think aside from the one that I have now, if I was to get another one, it would be either Pac-Man or Galaga, something like that, just because of that vertical monitor orientation. So you get a larger view of those games that were in that kind of squished aspect ratio. So yeah, that ought to be cool, because there's a ton of really good vertical shooting games that I like, and those would run awesome on that style screen. So that should be a really good mod. Yeah. Do you have any recommendations for pie images that are set up in that orientation, either of you?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I do know that you have the Voldemort image, which is 4:3, but I'm actually working on a custom image specifically for Arcade1up users.
Nice.
What I've done so far is I've included a lot of 80s music.
Nice.
For example, like Transformers, maybe even toss in some Cyndi Lauper, some Boy George, and some other stuff. techno music, a lot of the music that was pretty much hip during the 80s and would give you that video game iconic feel. What I've also done, so it's only arcade games. I've deleted all Atari and everything else. So anybody telling you about getting a Pi and having all those thousands of games, all you have to do is hit a delete button. I mean, that was created years ago.
Yeah.
And what I've done is all the games that are specific to the Arcade1up brand right now, like Street Fighter, Galaga, Pac-Man, and so forth, I've made those favorites. So at first I was going to do an entire image specifically for just the games, but I said, no, I'll leave all the arcade games there and then just make those a favorite so that way you can access that.
Nice.
In addition to that, if anybody wants to use light gun games, the light gun games are on there, but you have to get a dolphin bar. And essentially what a dolphin bar is a Bluetooth bar, just like your Wii bar, and it allows you to connect a Wii controller to it. So you can either use the Wii or the Wii Nunchuck for your light gun games. And it's USB capable. It works on your PC. It works on a Pi. I'm not sure if it works on the Odroid. I'll get one of those in the future, and I believe it supports up to 4 controllers. I'm not sure because I'm still playing around with it, but it does work, and
that'll be good. We have a lot of fans that were used to the Operation Wolf games. You know, the what was the Day of the Dead ones, or what was that called? Where there's all these
House of the Dead.
Yeah,
yeah,
really great.
House of the Dead, Area 51. I think I got some of those games. Not all of them are on the image I currently use, but I mean, it'll take me more time if I go through one by one and start having to add all of those. And in addition to that, I'm also working on custom splash screens that will say Arcade1up, but it'll have some additional 80s music. I'm thinking about doing something that's a group-oriented thing where a lot of the popular Arcade1up guys have like a little cameo show or something during startup. So I'm trying to be creative in how I do the image for everybody.
So I think just for sake of showing some people here that may see this now or see it later, why don't I do a screen share real quick, and I can show you guys how easy it is to move games from your PC that's connected to the same Wi-Fi as your Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to just do a screen share real quick. And then basically, so what you do is you just open up a Windows Explorer view, and you go to, RetroPie, or you put in your IP address, and then it's going to bring up these folders here. So all you have to do to get your games from any folder on your desktop is just open up ROMs. You put it into the corresponding folder, which I have most of mine in FBA, which is Final Burn Alpha. So here's all the games that I have. So if I want to add another one, I can basically just go into, like, I have this folder that has like a bazillion ROMs in it, right?
And before we get a little bit too far,
yeah,
I just want to inform people, sometimes when you do have your RetroPie on the same network, or if you have two, sometimes it'll cancel each other out, and a lot of times it won't recognize on the network at all. In fact, I had that happen. I could click on network and it wouldn't show up. So for those of you who are new to the whole thing, click on your network icon, and then Brian can show you. Just click on your network icon, and then you want to hit //, and then type in RetroPie in capital letters. And the backslash is the button that's located above the enter button. So you hit that twice, and then type in capital letters RetroPie, and then that'll locate it on the network.
Yep. So it'll look like this right here. This is my IP address, if anyone cares. But yeah, all that you do then is just take the game you want and then just drag it over, and then boom, you're done. It's as easy as that. And then a couple of other things that you want to do if you wanted to add music, like you guys were talking about. I believe it's in here. There's a music folder that you can actually just put the MP3s into. And it's just that simple. So here it is right here. And so I've got like some different ones here, over 7 hours of arcade game music. So I can just have this stuff just playing in the background, even when the game's not running and it's just on the menu screen. There's other cool things you can do, like running screensavers and things like that. So
sweet. Hey, you got any of my custom music in there?
I do not. Everything I did was hand selected by me. I wanted to really make it tailored to exactly the way I wanted it. So we'll go ahead and close that out. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got, guys. If you guys have any other stuff you wanted to share tonight.
Yeah, so guys, keep in mind, I will be releasing that image probably within the next week and a half, maybe the day after or 2 days after Christmas. Have some time off to put in for that. And then also the image that I'm working from will be the 32 gig build from the Supreme Retro Gaming, not Supreme, Supreme V2. So I'm modifying that one for the Arcade1up. So it will have Kodi, Chromium, and Pixel on there, just some as additional bonuses. I didn't see the need to delete it. So if you want to use your Arcade1up as a media browser and stuff, that will be there.
Some guys seem to be using them as a jukebox also, because that Supreme version 2 had a jukebox app on there as well.
Yeah, that's on there. I didn't find a need for it, so I deleted it. So yeah, I deleted that, but you will have a lot of other things you can do on that as well. There was something else I added to it as well.
Oh yeah, I wanted to add one thing too. Keo was saying how if there's stuff on one of these builds that you get and you don't like it, just reference back how I showed you to go in there and add games. If you remove every ROM out of a folder, that game system will no longer populate in your RetroPie. So if there's no games in the folder, it'll just skip that one completely out, which is one thing I know.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I see stuff online all the time where people are saying, "Oh, I don't want 10,000 games. All I do is play 5."
Yeah.
Hit delete.
Yeah.
Just hit delete. It's real easy. Just get you either a basic build or get you a 32 gig or whatever the smallest one is, and learn to hit the delete button.
Yep. Delete the folder. Bye. Everything's gone.
And then it'll be a lot cleaner, and it'll be exactly what you want.
Exactly.
So James made a good point, and he had mentioned that he had modded his Wii and his Super NES Classic. Mm-hmm. And what some people have done is actually just stuck an NES Classic or a Super Nintendo Classic in one of these Arcade1up cabinets and hardwired it in there. So they didn't really do the Pi thing. They did the modification for the monitor that allows you to stick in an HDMI device. Mm-hmm. You can pretty much put anything in there that's HDMI.
So I would just tell you right off the gate that the SNES and NES Classics, their HDMI output is only option is widescreen. So when you connect it to this monitor, even with the HDMI adapter, it's going to take that 16:9 image and squish it. So it's not going to look good. I will just tell you that right off the bat.
There's actually a fix for that. I'm not sure, because I know you built yours from scratch, but I do know with so for example, the Supreme V2 builds and a lot of the other images that like Wolfenos and some of the other people have put out, they do have a bezel program which bezels the screen and it leaves everything in a 4:3 format. So there's no additional customization. You won't get that 16:9. Even when I play on my 65 or 50-inch TV, it's still bezeled and it still leaves it at a nice proportional rate.
Yeah, now, I'm just talking about if you just take a straight up NES Classic and put it in there, it's not going to work the way you think.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, on the Wii you can set it to 4:3 and all that, so that's definitely a possibility. And then you would just have to maybe take like a Wiimote or something and take apart like a classic controller, I guess, and you can make it function on that. But you would just have to be putting batteries, I guess, into the Wiimote all the time.
Right.
Yeah, and for that, I would recommend rechargeable batteries. I mean, I keep tons of those around my house.
I just don't think a Wii is definitely not something I would put in there personally, but that's a fantastic console to mod. The Wii U is even better, so that's just my
another thing. If anybody is planning on using the a PC to put in their cabinet and you're looking for emulation station. There is a Supreme Beta, I think it's 2 or just Supreme Beta version, which it does have. It won't have all the additional bells and whistles like the background music. However, you can play PlayStation 2, Wii, and Wii U. In fact, you could actually scroll down and look through the emulation station Supreme portable build and get an idea about what that is. And you can put that in your game system, and it will play Wii U, PlayStation 2, PlayStation portable games as well.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is if you don't have an old PC laying around, unless you really want to play Killer Instinct, there's really no need to buy a PC to put in an Arcade1up machine to do this. I wouldn't recommend that. I would just say stick with a Raspberry Pi. But if you have an old 10-year-old PC just laying around, 10-year-old PC is going to be more powerful than a Raspberry Pi. So, yeah, by all means, throw it in there. You know, if you got it and you're not using it for anything else, then put it to use.
Right. And there is an Odroid version available as well, but I don't have an Odroid. I've never used it. But I know Dirty Gaming and Regals, they have worked on an Odroid build. So that's much more powerful than a Pi. I don't have the current specs in front of me. It slips my mind at the moment. But that's also another option for people, too.
Yeah.
So we got a question here from Logan Whitford. And this problem has been pretty common throughout these Arcade1up cabs. And he's saying that his cabinet won't turn on. And it's all set up properly. It was working fine before, and it just now doesn't power up. So what I'm suggesting is maybe get a meter to make sure that you're still getting power on that little power adapter thing that it comes with. Make sure you're getting the proper voltage. If not, then it's probably the board. You might have to send that in to Arcade1up. And you might want to do that sooner than later because come March, you're not going to be able to do that anymore because it's only a 90-day warranty.
Yeah. I think that the PCB is the weakest link on these machines. I think the monitors, if they come out of the box and they're okay within the first couple of weeks, probably going to last you a long time. But that PCB seems to be, whenever that issue arises, what the culprit is. So I would look there first.
Yeah, and if you need to, just send it in, and hopefully you get a replacement.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know how many times they're doing warranty replacements or anything on the monitors? Because in my personal opinion, that's the most that's the most intrinsic thing of the cabinet. I mean, everything else you could just replace or just buy something of, but the monitor is perfectly fit for it and already in there.
Sure.
So
somebody else at a different forum, Gordon Kister, had posted that you can find that exact monitor on Amazon, like the exact same model, and they were around $40. So I don't remember where I saw him post it, but I remember that it was available, and it was that exact same one. So if it ever blows out, you could actually get a replacement for it.
Nice. I'm sure Arcade1up's going to probably offer to sell you something too. You know, I don't know what the pricing will be, but I don't know. For me, if that monitor goes out, then I'll probably just explore upgrading it to a bigger one at some point. Maybe, I don't know.
We'll see. I know. For me, it's it's not so much just getting a replacement monitor, but trying to figure out how you're going to mount it in there.
Sure.
And then that becomes another mod. You know, so I think we should start getting plans together for people whose monitor may either go out or individuals who want something a little bit better.
Yeah. Ultimately, it would be nice to get the same size monitor, but a nicer quality would be cool.
Yeah, with multiple viewing angles and stuff like that.
Yeah, or something where if I'm standing looking down, it's not all washed out. I mean, I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'3", so when I stand at the riser, even and look down, it gets washed out. So basically, I just sit on that stool, and with the riser, and that's like a 24-inch bar stool, and it's perfect height for me to sit at and play.
Hey, do you guys have binoculars like looking through the window of my house? Oh man, you guys are going to be in for a surprise when you see my mod.
Yeah, I've seen some of the parts you're getting in, and it's It's like
that's a secret.
putting the pieces to the puzzle together.
Yeah, it'll be nice to finally see it take shape here.
Yeah. I'm sure there won't be many duplicates.
One of a kind. Also, you know, when we were kids, we were playing these arcade games. They didn't use the LCD, so the viewing angle was never a problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and a lot of times the arcade machines didn't have the monitor like straight up like that. It was actually like recessed down. So
Right.
you were standing up and you were looking down at the screen on some of the games. So there's different kind of cabinets, but that was one that I definitely remember where you were almost looking down into it.
Yeah, the Pac-Man specifically, it was in there. It was laid at a 45-degree angle almost.
Yeah, and I don't know what the thought process behind that was. If it was like, you know, if there was sun coming into like a 7-Eleven or something like that. I mean, who knows? But they seem to have figured those out pretty well.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully they get their thing together over there. I know Logan has a concern here. He's saying customer service line is so busy he had to wait 1 hour to talk to someone, then close up. They close up while he's still waiting there, so he might return it. You know, that's really unfortunate for the company because people have right now up until February something to return or exchange their units. And so, as again I said, March 15th will be the day we really get to see what happens with Arcade1up, with how they've treated people, taken care of people, and all the Christmas gifts will be open around that time too.
Right. Yeah, they might be getting a whole rush, and if they're already behind, it might be a little bit more time before you get your replacement parts.
I still think they should have reached out to some stores. It would have opened up jobs for people. Maybe provide 1 or 2 people with the technical expertise to really assist people at the store level at every Walmart, Best Buy, Fry, something at the store level instead of making everything a mail order business.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not really ordering anything that you should be ordering right now. You're just getting stuff replaced that should have came working to begin with.
Yep.
Or should have came not scratched or dinged, dented.
Or
I think most of it is cosmetic. But yeah, just one last time, I just was sitting here fiddling with this. This is the micro switch out of the Arcade1up button.
Wow.
And then this is the size of a real arcade machine micro switch.
Yeah, I mean, there's a clear difference there in quality.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think's going to last longer? I mean, the women say size matters, right? I don't know.
Well, I think they're right. I mean, they're both black, but the other one's clearly bigger.
Nice.
So, in the topic of mods and stuff like that, I just wanted to kind of show you guys another mod I did. And this was one of my favorite video games of all time growing up was 720, and it was a skateboarding game. And this game didn't have a standard arcade joystick. It had one of these, I don't know if you can see it, but it had like an analog controller where you spun around the skateboarder, and every direction you went, that's where the skater would go. So obviously for one game, it's going to be very difficult to emulate. So I'm hoping at some point that they'll update MAME and RetroPie so I can hook this up to it. Because I did plug in an encoder on here, and it's emulating a mouse, but it's not perfect yet. So the only way to run this properly right now is doing MAME on a PC, even though it's a really old game from like '85.
Yeah, that was a very popular game. I actually have the Nike SB Dunk shoe that's designed after that.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, it's got the checkerboard insole and all that stuff, and the pink and everything. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, they actually got Tony Hawk and a whole bunch of pro skaters back in the early '80s to kind of model after to get that game going.
Yeah, that whole Powell Peralta generation was just awesome for skateboarding. That was intense.
That was the beginning of something big.
Yep. Now it's just a huge industry. Those guys made it so you can make money skateboarding. It's crazy.
Right.
Hey, let me ask you. I've seen a couple of guys put some computer parts inside their cabinet. Would you recommend that right now to anybody? Um, I saw a guy. He had the power supply and everything laying on the floor, and he had like a thin layer of wood on the floor too. I've never built a computer using wood before, or even seen that. It's always been some type of encased metal. So I don't know if you guys have any ideas about that.
I don't see what the difference between putting these parts inside of a tiny, PC, what do they call it, the cabinet or whatever, versus putting it in a bigger arcade cabinet. As long as it's ventilated, you got the warm air exhaust and then maybe an intake bringing in cool air. It should work. It should be fine.
And also, the only reason to really do that is if you want to play games that the Raspberry Pi won't play. Like,
Yeah.
About Killer Instinct, is that one of the ones that is hard?
Yeah, Killer Instinct isn't going to run on a Pi for shit. So definitely going to need, and even with a PC, you're going to need a decent
video card, probably.
Well, at least a decent processor.
Killer Instinct really runs on MAME because I can't even get Killer Instinct to run unless it's something new.
No, I've got Killer Instinct 2. No, but Killer Instinct 1, you can get to run pretty decent on a fairly decent PC. I have just the onboard graphics card on my AMD here, and this is from like 2010, and it's got like 8 gigs of RAM. It's nothing special, and it runs it, but it won't run Killer Instinct 2 very well.
Right. So hopefully they get that figured out with the emulators, because that game isn't that crazy. I mean, what were the hardware requirements for that back in the days?
I think it's just because the emulation hasn't been made very well, so that you're gonna need like a lot of overhead to run it because it's not optimized for it.
Yeah, it's pretty sloppy programming at this point.
Right. My Xbox One, it runs it perfect, but it was also designed and optimized for it. So I'm glad to have that classic version in an arcade perfect port there.
Right.
So at least I have some way to play it.
But then you're not really playing it as it was intended in an arcade cabinet, and that's what we want to see.
Yeah, exactly. And while we're talking about optimization, I know that there's been a couple other YouTubers. They advertise some new images that have been out, and there's a new image that someone made called the PSX image for PlayStation games. And I can tell you personally that there is a PSX version for the Supreme build. Well, it's from Dirty Gaming. It's not even the Supreme build. It will be out. At least the one that I'm working on, because I wanted to add some more ROMs to it. But I want to just say this: emulating and optimizing an image or build is very important. You could have the same Raspberry Pi, same specs, same everything, and another game will run crappy. So, for example, the NFL Blitz 2000 runs like crap on the Supreme V2. However, it runs flawlessly on the PSX build because it's optimized specifically for PSX games. So you really have to pick what image you have. You can't worry about so much about hardware, but it's also how did the builder optimize that image for you to run a specific game.
Yeah. RetroArch, which is kind of the foundation for RetroPie, is basically using cores for a bunch of different emulators, and different emulators are going to have different abilities. I've found that Final Burn Alpha is my go-to for the most part. I like the way the games run on that, but a lot of people prefer MAME. I have some games that won't even run on Final Burn Alpha that will only run on MAME, and vice versa. So, that's just where you're going to have to kind of have both and just play around with it and see what works for you.
Yeah, that's definitely true, because I can tell you I have 3 different copies of the X-Men game, the 2-player, 4-player, and 6-player, and some are laggy and some run just fine.
Right.
So, again, some of it is the combination of the emulator and which ROM you're using.
Yeah, definitely. But just do your homework, get online, read what ROM sets to download for, whatever emulator you're going to use, whatever core you're going to use. So that's the best thing.
Yeah, that's true. All right, do we have any more questions for tonight? I know we've pretty much coming up on the hour mark, and we just try to keep this brief for us. On the nights we'll do it, and I think we'll probably do another live stream sometime, maybe after CES, but we'll keep you guys updated. So, were there any other questions in the forum or anything tonight?
I don't see any additional questions, but I think that you do bring a good point that at CES we're going to have a lot of new questions just because we're going to have so much information and we're going to see so much new technology come out and maybe some of the things that may or may not ever come out, and they're just kind of testing them out with the folks over at CES. So that'll be kind of neat to see.
Cool. I look forward to seeing whatever you see over there. Hopefully you take a lot of pictures and notes.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we could kind of wrap it up. If you guys want to follow me on my Instagram, just look up Superdimensional. You can also follow me here on YouTube at Superdimensional, and also Brian Buck in the Facebook groups.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining. This is Kiodiekin. Thank you guys again. I do have a few more other videos I need to post. And I can't believe I haven't even posted my firework video. But I do have a few RC car videos I definitely need to post, as well as do some videos of the custom images and builds that are coming out. So if you guys have any questions, please, don't mind, just either message us on Facebook, join one of the groups that we're involved in, or subscribe to one of our channels. And want to thank you guys again, Superdimensional and Wolf, for joining tonight. And I hope you guys got some of these codes and you can read them. So hope you guys had a great day, and you guys have a very Merry Christmas.
Yep. Thanks.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right.
Bye, guys.